Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name.
You know, not too long ago, there was a death in the family, and he died at a relatively young age, in his late 30s. He was at work, and according to his colleague, everything seemed fine, but he suddenly collapsed and passed away not long after. So when things like this happened, it's bound to make you think or reflect about death. And there was this clip of Father Daniel Reehil where he talked about dying well. I think you'll definitely find this one useful. Listen to this.
The question I would pose is, what would you do if you had 1 hour to live? If Jesus appeared to you in an apparition, said, in 1 hour, I'll be taking you home. Well, there was a young boy named Dominic Savio, and he died at the age of 14. He was an Italian boy, and when he was 12 years old, he met his mentor, who was St. John Bosco. And in the biography of Dominic, Don Bosco preserves a wonderful episode about this idea of having 1 hour to live. So one day when Dominic was playing football, soccer for us, with the other boys, Don Bosco asked him, what would you do if you had 1 hour left to live? Now, it's a question we should ponder ourselves, you know. Nothing focuses the mind quite like death, especially imminent death. And our mortality looming over our daily lives makes it suddenly easier to decide all sorts of things. You know, we can see better what's most important and what is worth holding on to and what we need to get rid of. And maybe if we had just 1 hour to live, we might do some things differently. We might tell people what really matters. We might express our affection more readily, make peace with those we've been fighting with, forgive our enemies, and seek pardon from those we've offended. But it's probably unlikely that we would spend the last hour of our lives doing anything trivial. Perhaps you would run to the church to get one final holy hour in. Dominic told Don Bosco that he would continue playing football. That's right, you heard me correctly. He would continue playing football. Why? Because he was living his life in perfect harmony with God. He'd already been to Mass. He prayed his rosary. He had no unforgiveness in his heart. He had nobody to forgive. He was living well. He was living well. And now it would become eventually, just right after this, really, just a few months later, he did actually die. I'm not sure if he played football that day, but he died. Another saint was St. John Fisher. He was a bishop in England and challenged the king on his taking a second wife. And of course, was thrown in prison. And he woke up one morning by the executioner, who said to him, it will be later this morning, you'll be executed. And John Fisher said, may I then sleep in a little longer? I'm very tired. Yes, that's what I said. Can I sleep in a little longer? I'm very tired. You know, why? Because he knew his life was in order. He was going to die a martyr, really, for standing up for truth, which is Jesus. And it's just a very unusual answer. So when you think about the last hour of your life, I would think probably none of us would think, I'm going to play football or sleep in a little more. And yet these two saints, that's exactly how they replied. You see, our life has all the semblances of living, but most of these are just activity. Activity is not living. Activity looks like living, just like social media friends look like friends. They have the appearance of being what they are not. And worst of all, they can deceive us, you know? And so we can go all through life as though we're living it, but all the while we're just postponing what is most important. And the prospect of imminent death can put an end to the postponement, which is important. So in the end, the art of dying well is bound to the art of living well, truly living, to live in love with God. You know, we have to trust in his mercy. We have to commit our lives to him and to genuinely desire what God desires for us, regardless of where that takes us. You know, regardless. Look at all the Jesuit martyrs back in the day, in the early days of the Jesuits. They just marched in as soldiers to do the mission at hand without counting the cost, just like Jesus. He knew the cost. He knew it would be his blood. But he knew it was pleasing to the Father and that it would rescue us. And so I would ask you today, if you have a little time, ask yourself what you would do if you had 1 hour left to live. And I pray that I would be able to say sleep or play at my last hour, knowing that I've done everything that God's asked me to do. And I would pray that for you too, that at the end of all our lives, we would be able to say, Lord, I've done everything you've asked, and I've done it out of love for you. And hopefully we'll hear the words, well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your master's house. The ultimate healing is heaven. Ultimate healing is to go into heaven. And that is our goal. That's our eternal goal. And so why do some people not get healed? Because it's their time to go home, right? Why do some people get healed? Because God apparently wants them more to happen from them. In this case, he probably wanted the story to go out to the world so people would know that these things happen. They truly happen. So we don't question why God does what he does. We trust that he's doing what's best for us. And that's really a surrender that comes with living life well, the art of living well. Now, when we think about this, how to prepare for death by living a great life, this is what the saints did. This is clearly and simply just what they did. They lived lives that were focused on Jesus, on God, and that was the center of their life. And everything else fell in place around that. And that's what we're called to do too. And I tell you, this is the hardest time to be a Catholic who's trying to become a saint, but also the easiest. I'll explain that. The distractions that we live with in this age are like none other in the history of the world. The saints of centuries gone by, they rose with the sun and went to bed with the dark. They had no TV, no radio, no telephone, no social media, no movies. It was a simple life where there was a lot of silence, where you could listen for the Lord's voice. We have constant attacks on our ears and our eyes, and for the most part, most of it is garbage, if not even vulgar, and meant on drawing us into sin. Very difficult. On the flip side, because so few people are focused on God, there's this great grace funnel available. If you say, Lord, I want to be a saint, and you should say it. Say, I want to be a saint. There has to be a desire, and I would say even the declaration to the Lord. Let him know that, and say, I give you permission, Lord, to form me into the saint you made me to be. It'll be a great transforming moment that'll continue through your life if you continue to pray that prayer every day.
Well then, that will be all for the video this time. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here again, and hopefully all of you have learned a lot from this video. Remember, if there's any feedback or suggestion, please let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for your continuous support, contributions, and prayers. And until the next one, thanks again for watching, and may God bless you.